Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 231, and Rachel's back.
I am. Hello, it's been a while.
You are now Rachel Godfrey.
I am,
How's
and I
it
can't
feel?
get used to it. It's funny, I write things on. Okay, I've changed my personal Facebook account name to Rachel Godfrey, and it's funny. I comment on these things, and then I go back to look at what I've commented on. And I'm like, and I have to do this thing in my head. It's like a double take of who. So yes, I am, but I'll be remaining Rachel Guy professionally because we can't lose that.
Yeah, I can't imagine changing your name. Let's say, you've got a name for 30 years, and then just someone changes it.
Yeah.
What? Why? What? Why?
The good thing is that I still have the same initials, and my Louis Vuitton handbags are branded with RAG, my initials, and I don't have to change them. So there is a perk.
Your handbag. That is filthy language.
Don't worry, you wouldn't understand. You're a boy. The girls will get me.
I wouldn't understand. You are right. I am a boy. So I think we should just get straight into the flow of this. I remember before we started, we were chatting. We've almost forgotten how to do it.
I know.
It's been like 2 months since we recorded together. So much has changed.
So much has changed, and we've been traveling everywhere. But now we're back in town. And I am a married woman. So should we begin with the questions?
Let's go.
Okay. So this first one is from Lydia. Hi, Ben and Rachel. I emailed you guys back at the beginning of the year, and you answered my email on the podcast. Thank you so much. My email was about my mindset and depression, and I had just applied for university to do sports science, and I was going to do my A-levels. I just wanted to let you guys know I got the results that I needed to go to Birmingham Uni. I'm also doing a distance learning PT course. I decided that uni was the right option, big change, and the chance to meet new people. I'm starting to feel a whole load better about everything. Your message on the podcast gave me a lot to think about, and it was very helpful. Thanks so much for answering it, Lydia.
So that was just a nice little story more than anything. But I think the sort of thing I wanted people to take away from is that I think often in life, not many of us are used to planning quite far in advance. We often say, oh, what do I want to be doing in my life next year? Or, what is my career path? It's not really a kind of right, I'm here now. Really, where do I want to be in 3, 5, maybe 7 years' time? And I think because we don't often look enough in the future, because we're impatient as a species, we generally want things today. With a university degree, you've got to sit back because it's 3 years of your life. Mm-hmm. I regret going to uni in some ways, but I don't because it was a great grounding. I went to university because I knew it would just be full of opportunity. There's just so much stuff going on at a university, but not enough people go, right, where do I need to be in 5 years' time? And when you're 18, 20, 22, you do need to kind of think like that. Once you've gone through the phase of just having fun, going out, drinking, doing things with friends and just living it up, there's a point where you need to say, well, yeah, what really lights my fire? What do I want to be doing? And then you say, right, well, even if 30, let's say you're 20 and you're going, right, what do I want to be doing when I'm 30? Well, I'd really like to be in management doing this or whatever. What are the steps that I need to go through? And I think it's just nice to hear someone young be reflective because I do meet a lot of people and there's nothing wrong with not knowing what you want to do. Just wait until you know what you want to do and then go for it. But it's nice to see someone saying this is my career path, these are the steps, I'm going to enjoy things along the way, but I'm focused now and I'm happy that I'm on the right path. And I just thought that was refreshing to hear.
That's awesome. And I went to Birmingham University. I studied physio at Birmingham, and it was amazing. And I might not be working as a physio now, but I certainly used the skills that I learned in my degree, especially in the early stages of my career. So Birmingham Uni has many fond memories of me, some which I think I would prefer to forget as well. But I certainly had a very good time there. And one thing I just wanted to say is that most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but they underestimate what they can achieve in 5 to 10 years. And you have to see goals and see things long term and as a life vision. So a lot of people say, particularly when they're starting a new business, for example, I'm going to earn X amount over the next year. Now they overestimate what is actually what they have to undertake to be able to get to that point. Now, if they see it as a longer term gain, frequently they underestimate what they can achieve over the long run. So, which is why when you see, where we overestimate what we can do in a year, you think you can do so much in a year. You absolutely can, but there are also times as well where you think you can do too much, and then that's what causes the stress and anxiety and the stuff in the day-to-day life. So, it is absolutely a long-term game, and it's such a cool thing, because God, I remember it like it was yesterday, opening up my A-level results and going, yes, I'm going off to university. So all those memories come flooding back. Have fun, Lydia. You have a great time.
Yeah, life is indeed a long-term game.
It is. So, next one. The next question is from Lindsay. Hi, Ben. My husband and I are both fans of the podcast and your supplement range, and I look forward to trying the new non-itchy recovery spray. I had a question about your daily dose multivitamin, and perhaps a general question for the podcast. I'm trying to get pregnant, and I've read in many places that when trying to get pregnant, you should start to take a prenatal vitamin. I've still got the Aussie in me, sorry, vitamin. So first of all, is the daily dose suitable if I'm trying to conceive? And then assuming that we are successful when we are pregnant. I can't see this mentioned on the product. When I look at prenatal vitamins, they generally contain a small amount of the recommended daily allowance. Whereas when I'm used to taking supplements that exceed the RDAs. I would have thought preconception and post-conception, your body and your baby needs all the support and nutrients it can get. Is there a reason that they contain such a small amount, and is it because of the concern or the unknown on the potential impact for the unborn baby? I don't think we've covered this in the podcast before, and it would be good to understand how you should supplement when pregnant and trying to conceive. Thank you.
I think in these situations you need to kind of rely heavily on the information that is within the medical community, because it's what we know is safe, and we don't want to make any assumptions. And for a long time in the fitness industry, in areas that we haven't fully understood, we have just made assumptions and often said, more is better, and, do this, and low carb is best because we think the body has this mechanism. So it says on the label, for example, and this is, you need to be analytical at any stage when you're kind of trying to look to change what you're implementing with your diet and your lifestyle. On the back of our label, it says, be wary if you are trying to get pregnant or are pregnant, because of the vitamin A content. And vitamin A could be harmful in that process. So it's something that I think you should research, like what level of vitamin A is harmful when you're pregnant. Is that level too high in the product? And also, because we designed the product to be optimal from what the research says. So, for example, there's 2 grams of fish oil in it because the research says that is the optimal dosing. A doctor would probably not recommend our product because they would look at the NHS's recommended level, which is probably something minuscule, like the recommendation is eat 1 to 2 servings of oily fish a day. So I think this is a tough one. I'm going to say it's not going to be appropriate because this is the right thing to say. But I think you can do your own research and make a informed decision that you think you are happy with based on the more evolved research that potentially the NHS or doctors might not be privy to. So by looking at websites like examine.com, things like that, because ultimately you want to play it safe, but also you want to give your child the best possible chance. We've put pretty much the 100% RDA of a lot of the general vitamins, and then stuff like vitamin D, fish oil, magnesium, we've put kind of a little bit more in.
I'd say exactly the same. Sorry, I've got a bit of an echo here, so I'm getting confused. I'm hearing my own voice. I'd say exactly the same. I'd err on the side of caution. I think, it is a bit of the unknown. And the other reason I think sometimes the pre and postnatal vitamins have a lower recommended dose, lower than the RDA, is the reason that some people don't take any vitamins at all, and they then all of a sudden think, right, well, I'm going to try and conceive, I'm going to start taking vitamins. Now, if you go from taking nothing and having a really poor diet and then adding in a very high dose vitamin, it can have an adaptation period where you can feel quite nauseous. It can be sometimes too much. So I would have thought some of these, pre-postnatal packets do actually take that into consideration and perhaps err on the side of caution. So, if you've got a good nutrition, you've got a good nutritional base, a good diet, a good all-round low-dose multivitamin, you can't go too far wrong.
I agree. If you're unsure, play it safe.
Exactly. Okay, next question is from Jeff. Hi, Ben and Rachel. Since I've moved to Uganda in May, I've spent a lot of time walking around in sandals as well as barefoot. I've noticed that knee pain from my patellar tendonitis is significantly less after walking around in sandals and or barefoot compared to when I wear shoes. My experience is the same regardless of what type of shoes I wear: Nike lifting shoes, Nike cross trainers with arch support, or rubber-soled boots with a small heel. Thanks to BTN coach Troy Martin's guidance, I'm rehabilitating myself back to full health, but I'm not in the gym. But when I'm not in the gym, I do prefer to wear my sandals as much as possible. Do you think it's possible that shoe technology and arch support might not be as beneficial as we think it is? What if the greater arch support isn't better? What if our shoes are actually changing our movement pattern and contributing to increased patellofemoral joint stress? Here's a link to an article that correlates patellofemoral joint stress in relation to heel height. I'm not trying to suggest that we wear those silly barefoot toe shoes, but there might be something to learn observing normal anatomy of the foot and trying to wear shoes that almost accurately mimic it instead of changing it with insoles, increased arch support, and thickened heeled running shoes. Hopefully this piques your interest. Thanks again from a long-term listener and supporter, Jeff.
I take a little bit of offence on the silly barefoot toe shoes. I love my vibrams. I think they're brilliant shoes.
You know what? So I had to do a shoot. Oh god, it must have been about 18 months ago, and it's for a great friend of mine. And look, I think vibrams are great, and I'll come on to talk from a little bit of a physio perspective on what I think about all this kind of stuff in a minute. But look, I think barefoot running shoes and stuff, all of that kind of stuff is great if you've got the right foot mechanics to do so. Personally, when I put one of those on, I felt like I was wearing rubber socks, and I think it's because I've got a thing like I don't like things between my toes, so I can't wear them for that reason. But they're great. So I'm a big supporter, Ben, and you keep rocking your Vibram.
The problem is, because I work from home, I walk the dog, go to the gym and sort of lift, I never get to wear them anymore. There's just no need for me to wear them. Like, I might wear them in the summer a bit on a dog walk, but I tend to wear my boots just because I live in the countryside, bristles, brambles, mud, that kind of stuff. So yeah, unfortunately I don't. I mean, I walk around at home in bare feet. I think, what we're talking about here is being natural. I think this is the key take-home point, and and this is why I think everyone loves getting outdoors or on the beach, getting your feet moving in the sand, feeling, there's both a connection with the earth thing and a moving natural thing. And, we don't really get a lot of opportunity to be barefoot anymore. In our environment, we can't. So I probably look more to you on this, Rachel. I don't know how sandals were different, but I see flip-flops as a problem. Mm-hmm. Flip-flops are not normal walking movement because you grip with the toes and you pull and flick the flip-flop up. And then any shoe that you wear is forcing your foot to do something, whether that's the arch is in a particular place, the heel is in a particular place, there's an angle on the shoe, there's a bit of bounce on the shoe, there's one side that's bouncier or harder than the other. It's all forcing slightly unnatural foot mechanics. And the thing is what we maybe don't appreciate is these small nuances might be so small that we don't notice it within, let's say, an hour. But when you're walking all day, that's when it builds up step after step after step. And if you imagine if you're a runner, you're then compounding that force. We know that running puts 4 to 8 times more force in your body weight through things like your knees and ankles and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it does take time playing around. I've bought a new pair of Nike SBs. which is apparently an old basketball shoe, no, old skateboarding shoe. I'm not really that cool enough to wear them, but I like them. Anyway, I find them really comfortable, but after about 2 or 3 hours, they make my feet ache. I was at an event at the weekend. About 3 hours in, I just ended up taking my shoes off and walking around barefoot at the event, because it wasn't enjoying it anymore. And literally within 5 minutes, my feet felt better, more relaxed, less tension, everything. So, I mean, feel free to have a rant, Rachel, but I think A, if you can, get in barefoot as much as possible. B, maybe you need to buy a pair of shoes and accept that 1 or 2 pairs of shoes might get thrown in the bin because they're just not right for your feet.
Okay, so a bit of a grey question here that's going to have a grey answer. So essentially, this is not for everybody. So foot orthotics and barefoot, like they're black and white, and they're not for everybody. So somebody, you have to get an opinion from somebody who specialises in foot mechanics, whether that's a chiro, an osteo, a podiatrist, a physio, a really good physio, somebody who can look at the whole body in general. Because we have to look, like, let's take, for example, I'll use like layman terms here, a collapsed arch in the foot. We have to look at whether that is a structural or a functional flat foot, if you like. So if we look at islanders, so when I was down in Sydney, I used to see a lot of this, Kiwi guys, for example, they have a very flat foot, and that is functional, like that is what they were born with, and that's what they deal with. And if you were to put an orthotic with an arch in, that would throw off their mechanics. Whereas if you've got somebody who might be hypermobile or might be super weak from the hip, then somebody like that could do with having an arch, having arch support or having midfoot support. So we really have to look at the body as a whole. And the other thing I wanted to say is that, your foot mechanics can come from higher up in the body. So we have to look at the mobility around the hip. We have to look at the strength of the hip. Are you getting patellofemoral pain because your knee is collapsing in because you've got weak glute med? There are so many things going on here. One of the common ones that people don't look at is the fact that if you've been wearing shoes for a long time, you get what I call lazy foot, which is essentially where all the little integral muscles in the foot just become, atrophied and lazy. And so there are certain foot exercises that you can do. Again, you've got to go see a specialist to make sure that you get the right exercises. And to actually make sure that your midfoot is functioning properly, so you've got nice flexibility within the midfoot, and that the midfoot is nice and strong as well. So sometimes what can happen is, if we look at the ankle joint, so the talar-crural joint, if that doesn't have optimal mobility, so say for example you're lacking in dorsiflexion, if you're squatting as an example, when you come down to squat, if you don't have adequate dorsiflexion, then you can collapse through the midfoot. So obviously, and then that can lead to patellofemoral pain. So it is quite a big area.
I've never thought about that. I've just visualised that in my head of how that could happen.
Well, because, if you're
forcing movement, you have to collapse the arch.
You have to collapse somewhere. So you have to collapse somewhere. So there's much, it's a lot more detailed than a lot of people think, and it's really important to get these things looked at. Now, there's very easy assessments that a practitioner can make to see if your foot is functioning properly and whether it's sort of structural. So structural being that, you might have reduced range of movement, you might have sort of joints that are a little bit stuck, or you might have weakness in the foot or the hip, or even through the calf and the soleus muscle that needs to be worked on, or it might be functional. So it might be that that's just the way that your body works, and that's just the way that your foot works. So for someone like Jeff, it's obvious that, what he's been doing in the past hasn't been working for him. So something needs to change. I'm not a fan of flip-flops. I think obviously I do wear flip-flops or thongs for my Aussies, as they say from time to time. Like flip-flops are fine from time to time, but, they do change your gait. So the style if you're walking. Yes, of course, I'm a big fan of barefoot and barefoot shoes if you have the strength and the structure in order to be able to do so. If you're somebody who's fairly mobile and who's got a very weak foot, you certainly wouldn't go from wearing orthotics and hard shoes straight into barefoot shoes overnight. It might be that if you wanted to do something like that, I would do so under the guidance of a practitioner and do it very graduated. So it might be that you spend 10 minutes a day walking around in your barefoot, and then work up from there.
I suppose ultimately it's like any muscle, you've got to train it up. You can't go from nothing to everything. It's going to be a bit of a shock. As you were speaking about that, I'm currently standing at my desk, and I started to roll my ankles and started to feel where I had like sort of restrictions compared to the other foot, and I just wanted to move my feet. I sort of felt conscious.
Yeah, so like the foot has lots of loads of like bones and ligaments and like joint capsules, and if you've got one part of your foot, particularly the midfoot and around by the toes, frequently people's big toes don't flex properly. So if you don't get full flexion of the big toe when you've got toe off, then obviously you can roll inwards, you can roll outwards. So there's plenty of things going on with the foot. The foot's like it's a really complex area of the body, and I think it's highly underrated. So definitely go get it checked out. It's something that can be actually quite liberating if you have your foot manipulated. I know it sounds gross, but if you have it manipulated and you get some good treatment on it, get your ankle range of movement going, particularly if you've had any ligament injuries around your ankle, you won't believe how much they get stuck, particularly in dorsiflexion, and you don't get a proper glide. So the ankle, the foot doesn't dorsiflex properly. So dorsiflexion, if you're bringing your toes up towards your knee. Sometimes it can get stuck at the front, so people can get anterior ankle impingement. So all of these things, with the foot and the ankle, it's definitely worth going to see a specialist about.
I've had a lot of foot massages, love them, really relieving, but I always try and choose a practitioner that is good at manipulating and moving, like you've said, all these different aspects of the foot. A lot of people, now I think the feet is one of these things that if you've got, let's say you've got tight arches, very, very common. If you start sort of rolling with them with a lacrosse ball, you never ever really get much long-term relief. It's always short-term relief. Now, could it be because, now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be leg biomechanics, might be even further up biomechanics. If you've got all these little bones and joints that are restricted in the foot, and a lot of these muscles are staying tight because the joint is tight, surely, you, like anything, you have to manipulate along with the soft tissue release to get any long-term benefit.
Absolutely. We have to look at why, as with any other area of the body, if there is a muscle that is short and tight, frequently it's because it's weak or it's trying to hold something in position. So, you don't just have tight hamstrings just because they're tight hamstrings. They will always be that way for a particular reason. So, yeah, you absolutely have to take a grosser look at what's going on, and it might be that you need, you might have adhesions around one of your joint capsules, which isn't allowing full range of movement through a particular joint, which is why then, for example, your plantar fascia can become inflamed. Obviously, as we know, plantar fasciitis is such a big thing nowadays. Frequently, that's combined with shin splints, and some people sometimes their symptoms manifest as shin splints, and shin splints is really just an umbrella term of pain of the lower leg and pain around the shin. Frequently, that's because flexor digitorum longus, which is one of the muscles that just sits just behind the shin on the medial side, can get adhesions in it, and it can actually sort of adhere to the actual shin bone. It doesn't glide properly. So there are lots of things going on, particularly with sort of shin splinty type things. They can then lead to plantar fasciitis, or one can cause the other. So it's quite a complex area, and it's certainly worth looking into.
Fascinating. I'll tell you what we haven't talked about before is maybe gym footwear, because I see an awful lot of people in the gym, and while they might not have the best mechanics, like for example you might be squatting and your ankles might be dropping slightly, knees dropping in, that kind of thing. The footwear that you might use might compound that. Rachel, what do you think in terms of gym wear? Because I've been using a lot more of the CrossFit shoes because I've been fortunate enough to get a few pairs sent to me, perk of the job. So I've been wearing a lot of these CrossFit shoes, and they are good. Like, they're a lot more stable. They've got a really nice flat sole. You can almost squat in them as well as move dynamically in them. Because I see a lot of these Nike free running shoes and squidgy things, and I just don't see them doing us any good.
They are very squidgy, I have to say. Like, I've got some similar ones by Under Armour, and they're quite squidgy. They're a very lightweight shoe, but they're kind of squidgy. I find my ankles sort of rolling in them just when I'm walking. Okay, so I guess best case scenario is when you're squatting, you want like proper lifting shoes. Now, I'll be honest, like I would consider myself now a recreational gym user. I don't go everywhere with my lifting shoes. When I'm training, I do tend to just wear a solid pair of Asics. Like, I've got quite floppy joints, and I do wear orthotics that actually support like the underneath, so the ball of my foot. And I've had those specially made for me. And I try the best I can to walk around barefoot now and again. I find it really uncomfortable, if I'm honest. So it's probably something I don't do as much as I should do. So in terms of like the best footwear, it's really hard to say. Look, those CrossFit shoes, are they the Reebok ones you've got?
I've got a couple, but recently the Reebok shoe.
Yeah, the Reebok shoes are good, solid, like all-round gym shoe. However, you know what? Like, you can't go too far wrong. If you've got, if you're doing deadlift day, try to wear like a flatter soled shoe. So like the old school Converse, they're awesome. They're great for deadlifts. Something that's got like a really solid base that you can spread the floor in. You're not going to slide anywhere. Otherwise, I'm actually a really big fan of Asics. Asics have usually got a good solid shoe. Sometimes they're really springy. It really depends on which ones you get. I think it's the Nimbus, the Asics. Look, someone from Asics is going to kill me now because I'm going to completely mess this up. But I'm fairly sure it's the Nimbus, which is quite a soft shoe, and I think the Kayano is the slightly more stable shoe.
But surely it's an all-round gym shoe. That's not going to be as beneficial because it's squidgy.
Well, no. So you wouldn't want the Nimbus for all-round gym shoe. But if you're going to look at a Kayano, it's more of a stable shoe that does have a little bit more support. Now, this kind of contradicts what we were saying earlier about kind of going au naturel. Having seen what I've seen, I think people are generally quite weak, and that they could do with more of a stable shoe, particularly when they're lifting heavier loads. And then when they're at home and not lifting, perhaps do some more barefoot work then. So in answer to your question, I can't really say. Like, I don't, I lift in Asics or I've got my Converse on, which is a slightly flatter shoe. But I think the most important thing is we have to look big picture here, and as long as somebody has got an appropriate movement pattern for them. So, for example, not everybody should be squatting ass to grass because they don't have the orthopedic profile to do so. So they don't have the strength and they don't have the mobility to do so. So we have to look at what is creating the right movement pattern and actually how does that look. And it might be that you're doing, a half squat. And if you're doing a half squat in fairly decent shoes, being, something that's fairly sturdy, not something that's really springy. I don't know trainers well enough to say.
Fair enough. Yeah, just in my recent experience, because I've been using quite a few different pairs, I've got a pair of Nike like tennis court shoes, like squash shoes. They're really nice and flexible, but also really flat and rigid, completely flat sole, got good grip on flat surfaces, especially like vinyl and matting surfaces as well, so I get really good grip. Not good for running because of that tread and because of that grip and stuff. But I do like running out on pavement. I find the support is fine for me. And then recently in the gym, these kind of like cross-purpose CrossFit shoes. Because a lot of people can't afford lifting shoes. Lifting shoes are expensive. You're like looking at the cheapest of the cheap are like 60, 65 quid.
Yeah.
I've had a pair of them. I didn't really like them. I felt them quite heavy, quite clunky. Didn't like doing anything in them apart from literally squatting. So I bought a pair of Innovate shoes.
Yeah, that was going to be my next one I was going to bring up. I'm a big fan of Innovates because to me, they're a bit of a halfway house.
I got them cheap off, again, industry contact, bit of a perk. But again, they're like 80, 100, 110, 120 quid. So I think if you're going to have an all-round shoe, solid, flat, good flexibility, quite light so you can move dynamically, and hopefully you get you get the right kind of balance with them. But again, it sounds a little bit silly. When you're trying shoes on, have the confidence to give them a good test drive in the shop. Because quite often people will put shoes on, have a little 10 paces up, 10 paces down, and go, oh yeah, they feel all right. When in reality, you're not 100% sure, but you're under a bit of pressure, you're in the shop, you feel a bit bad. Fuck that. Take them bad boys for a spin. Walk up and down the stairs a bit, walk around the shop a bit, get a real good feel. Maybe do some lateral lunges to check the material doesn't shift too much over the sole, which can be a problem. So just things like that. Just if you're going to spend £50 plus, you want to make sure you're doing the right thing, right?
Yeah. Well, trainers are expensive now. Even 50 quid is cheap for a pair of trainers.
Yeah.
Luckily, I wear kiddie shoes, so I can get trainers for £30. Why I have so many?
Right.
Okay.
We're going to stop the podcast there.
Okay.
We're going to save that. The last question is a long one, there's lots of different things in there. So we're going to cut this short today. I think there's been a good focus to the show, so we're going to nip it in the bud. It's been 30 minutes. It's been tight. Tight.
That's very, very good of us to get it into 30 minutes.
It is, yeah. That's it from us. If you've enjoyed the show, then please do us the massive honour of sharing it, liking it, tagging someone in. Rachel, you might want to let people know that you have changed some of your social media things in case people will people have lost you in any way? No.
So basically, I have just changed my Facebook name. It was Rachel Guy Strength Conditioning Physical Therapy. That's not really congruent to what I'm doing now. The businesses have both evolved somewhat over the past couple of years. So you can now find me at Rachel Guy. What did I call it? Elite Female Coaching or something like that. Yeah, Elite Female Coaching. But the tag name still stands, and all it is facebook.com/Rachel Guy Fit Pro. So the address is exactly the same. So
okay.
Just find Rachel Guy. You'll find me on there. So everything else is at Athletic Fox. So nothing too much has changed. It doesn't change anything else really. It's just what I changed my page name.
Awesome. There we go. Right. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thanks, Benny. We'll see you soon.
Before I forget, I was going to do this afterwards. It's a lot easier for me to do it now. People have heard vicious rumours that I'm writing a book. I am. It is coming out, hopefully at Christmas. Now, I'm not going to hold myself accountable to a Christmas deadline because I've been speaking to people that are helping me manage this project, and Christmas is a very difficult time to bring out a product. You will find that there is just so many hiccups because of how busy it is. There's just a lot going on at Christmas, and we might find that it gets screwed up. But anyway, I'm writing a book for all the personal trainers and coaches in the world. Don't worry, it's not a nutrition book, it's not a training book. There's millions of people doing that out there that know far more than I do. I am writing a book called How to Become an Awesome Personal Trainer, and it's all about all the kind of life, business and intrapersonal skills that you need to be a fantastic coach. So customer service, how to market yourself, how to present yourself, how to structure your time, work-life balance, all that kind of stuff that we are not taught at PT school and that people are not talking about on the internet. I'm going to write a very good book on the subject, and you are going to love it.
It's going to be an excellent book.
It's going to be an awesome book.
Awesome.
And talking about skills outside of kind of nutrition and training, we've just changed our advanced academy at Body Type Nutrition. It is now called the Business Academy. We surveyed a lot of our students on the Practical Academy, and all the students, past students, said the skills we're still missing out on is how to build our business and make a success of what we're trying to do. getting more clients, structuring time, how to create online products, how to use Instagram properly, all that kind of stuff. So we've scrapped what we know as the Advanced Academy. Some of those things that we used to teach will now be standalone products and modules that people can buy in our shop. So now, once you graduate from the Practical Academy, you will have the chance to enroll in the Business Academy, where you will get taught a ton about the business side of being a personal trainer or a coach, both on and offline, or if you own a gym or want to own a gym in the future. So go to bodytypenutrition.co.uk, click on the Academy tab, have a look at what we're going to teach you. It launches December 2016, so it gives you a little bit of time to have a look and see if it's appropriate for you. You'll get taught by me, some external people, and all the team that you don't see day to day behind the scenes of Body Type Nutrition that make us the company that we are. It's something that I'm very excited about, and hopefully it will help a lot of people. So little bit of a few different products and angles for me to help coaches in the future. So yeah.
Very cool. That's massively missing in the industry, I think. It's like good, practical, solid advice, not just this like, do my course and make, $1 billion. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's hard work, and sometimes you need like proper structure and guidance, and then obviously the execution to go with it. So sounds awesome, Benny.
It is hard work, but we're passionate, we love it, and we live it every day, so it doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Right, Rachel, that's us out. I will be back on the show next week with Carl Greenslade, who's a BTN coach. We're going to go off on quite a different journey. As he describes himself, he's like the Peter Pan of fitness. Who knows? We'll speak to him next week. We'll speak to Rachel Sheen. Rachel, it's lovely to see you again. Rachel
You
Godfrey.
too.
And
Chat soon.
please support us on the podcast however you can. Love you and leave you. Stay awesome. Bye.
Ciao.
Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 330. Now, over the years, you've heard various different aspects of my story, what I've been up to, my background in fitness.